Hello, church family. Happy Wednesday, and welcome to this week's edition of This Past Sunday. Now, this past Sunday was 4th of July weekend, and I hope that everyone was able to spend a little time with friends and family. Maybe you were able to catch a parade or see some fireworks. If you're looking for a suggestion for next year, the family and I went down to Upper Salford's parade, which I thought was very well done. So if you're looking for one to get on the calendar for next year, I definitely recommend Upper Salford's parade. Now, we also had those storms, and so prayerfully, everyone who lost power with the storm, I'm hoping your power is back on. From what I heard, everybody seems good and back on the power grid. So, Lord willing, you had a nice, cool end to the week. Also, here at church, I want to say a special thank you to those who came out today to paint the fence here at church. I don't know if you can see it over my shoulder there, but it looks absolutely beautiful. So thank you for all the hard work that was put in today. Now, when we're talking about the message from last Sunday, we step back into history a little bit. I had a lot of fun with it. I hope you did as well, as we went back to July 4th, 1837. And we looked at John Quincy Adams' speech that was given on that date. In John's message, he reflected on the 61-year history of the United States. And he encouraged all listeners to be part of the gospel dispensation, to strive towards the goal of peace on earth and of goodwill to men. Now, as a practical starting point, John urged us each to reflect back to, well, I guess you could say the starting point, that being the birth of Jesus, the coming of the promise that was prophesied by Isaiah. And just a side note, if you remember, John was quite a big fan of Isaiah. If you remember, he refers to Isaiah as the greatest of the Hebrew prophets. So maybe you're right there with John on that. Maybe you have a different perspective on the greatest Hebrew prophet, but John had quite a bit to say out of Isaiah and quite a few words for us. But he ended his message with a very important challenge. A challenge to each one of us to spend time both raising our hands and praying to God that he would bring about the day of peace. But he also challenged us to exercise our own highest energies towards that goal of bringing about peace in our communities and peace in our world. And after looking at John's message, we looked at to see how can we put John's challenge into action. And if we take him at his suggestions, that would be by going back to Christmas and looking at what aspects of Christmas can we implement not just in December, but throughout the year. Personally, I would suggest the following 3 items. 1, to really embrace O come, Emmanuel. To embrace the idea of God with us, not just when things are going well, but throughout every day. And to ask the question, do our daily actions reflect an acknowledgement of God's presence with us? The second suggestion would be to really get into the mindset of the light of Advent does not go out when the tree comes down, but instead the values of hope, joy, peace, and love should become habits that we exhibit throughout the year. And finally, getting into the habit and the mindset of moving away from just seasonal gift giving to trying to have a lifestyle of service and of reconciliation. Granted, a lofty goal, but I would suggest a goal worth working towards. Now, that was last week. Looking ahead to next week, well, actually, I would say looking ahead to the next 2 weeks, because I've been itching to get into another series, and we've got this upcoming week and the following week where we can do a little 2-part series. So what I would like to do is spend some time over those next 2 weeks in the book of James. The book of James I find extremely interesting, partly because its author, James, has a very interesting story, both from his relationship with Jesus to his moving from a state of disbelief into a leader at the Council of Jerusalem. James's writing style is also quite a bit different from Paul's style. We spent quite a bit of time with Paul earlier this year. James has a more, I guess you could say, blunt and direct tone. So depending on the style that you connect with, James could be a nice and a fun read. We'll take a bit of time this week on James's story, but I'd like to focus the majority of our time on chapter 1, verses 2 to 8 and verses 12 to 18. In these verses, James addresses the difficult topics of trials and temptations. Note, trials being those external pressures that are coming in on us, whether from school, work, a peer group, pressures that are coming to us from external factors. And then temptations being those internal struggles which we have to deal with. Now, James addresses each of these in turn and provides suggestions for dealing with each. And we'll cover both these issues and James's suggestions for dealing with them this next Sunday. I look forward to seeing you all then, and until then, take care and God bless.